Thanks everybody for being here. I hope everybody's already got something out of tonight, networked with people and met some new people, new faces. Tonight our topic is on the virtual cloud. A little bit, virtual is really the key word there. We've got the virtual reality going on at the back with Dora and her team. And then we're also talking about virtual desktop in the cloud. So it's I've had a few people come up to me and say, virtual cloud, isn't it already kind of virtual? But it's more about the topic of the technology that we're doing there, so VR and VDI. So just quickly, pretty normal format now, even though we're only 2 PUGs in. I'll just state that it's our usual now. So we'll just quickly go through an intro for those new to PUG, what we're all about, just a bit about sponsorship. We'll do a cloud recap, just let everybody know about everything that's going on with all the various clouds, although I must say I do run out of room on my slide deck quite quickly, so if anybody has any sort of cloud news about any of the millions of different flavors of cloud out there that I don't cover, please send me an email. It is sometimes hard for me to do a bit of research on these things when I'm not in that space, such as Rackspace and other pieces, to know what they're doing and where to look for that knowledge. So I tend to steer to the big guys that I'm reading about and dealing with all the time, but I'd love to get everybody else here involved in the content that we're bringing up here and everything. So feel free to bombard me with emails, with information. We're doing this every month, so every time is a good time to email me. And then we've got 2 talks tonight. Dora will be talking about the VR space, and I'll be talking about VDI and just trying to make it a bit interesting by trying to be a bit more imaginative and bring in drones into the situation there. And then lightning talks. So we didn't get a chance to do this last time just because we were just so much content, so much conversation going that we didn't want to interrupt that in order to fast track onto the lightning talks. But assuming that we get to the lightning talks tonight, I've got some prizes to give away again. So the idea there is if anybody has a use case, some experience in the cloud, something they want to brag about, maybe it's something you're developing in the cloud that you're working on. It doesn't have to be finished, doesn't have to be to market. We'll give you like 3 to 5 minutes to come up here. It can be a pitch, it can be a story, it can be anything. We don't have a bell, but you might see me tapping my watch if you get a bit carried away. I know we're all very emotional and attached to our stories and projects, but yeah, come up. Got some Australian prizes, Australian themed prizes, so very neat, all the way from Australia, so you won't get them anywhere else. So yeah, PUG concept. So the idea here, we're looking for more sponsors and speakers. Everybody in technology now has some sort of connection to the cloud, so if you know of anybody who'd be interested in sponsoring this event, we're actually rolling this out due to the popularity online and here. We're actually starting to roll this out across North America and Canada. At the moment, we're doing the videos online. We're growing a lot more online, but we're also we're looking at Seattle, Toronto, Atlanta, other places to do what we've successfully done here in other regions around the world. So if anybody's interested in sponsoring, you'll get that exposure through the online piece of tapping into those other markets, because as you know, the cloud world, people in development, doing anything online, it's a global market now. So, but in saying that, it's all going back to the community as well. So all of the money that comes from sponsors is going into the cake you're eating, the beers you're drinking, the creative things that we're trying to do at these events. The more sponsorship we get, the more fireworks and smoke and drama we could have to make these sort of things more interesting. I mean, my rule is only 3 slide decks per talk. And the idea around that is to get engaged with everybody here. Let's get this like a bit free-flowing, a bit more than just death by PowerPoint. So we're here to educate, share. Volunteers, always helpful. Big round of applause for Drew. So he was the man with all the drinks and the beers and all that sort of thing. So if you've got any feedback about the drinks for tonight, Drew's your man. Whether it's negative or positive, I let you applause before I told you that, so Drew will just take that. And yeah, there's no agenda here, just cloud. That's what we're talking about. It's no particular brand. No, we're going to be very agnostic. You can talk negatively about a cloud if you want, as long as it's constructive. I mean, everybody's got their faults, but I'd like to stick on where we're going with the cloud. It's something that's become mainstream in 2014, and I think everybody's just, it's going to blur. You're not even going to realize soon that you've been using the cloud. And then just, if anybody's looking for these videos online, we're putting up the videos from every month online. There's already the one from last month. And if you go to coffeecloud.net, on the left-hand menu there's a link there that takes you straight to the videos. There's one from last month up there. If you forget later on, the banner over there has got the web address on it, so you can go have a look there. And yes, if there's any other cloud community groups out there, we're happy to record them. Tonight we've got 3 cameras going on around the place. We've got professional audio and everything, so be picking up every single whisper and negative word you're saying about the room. So yeah, we don't want to hold that sponsorship money just for us. We want to share it with everybody else in the cloud community, so they can be as successful as we are and get the word out there about all the different flavors out there. So just quickly, our sponsors for tonight, Soft Choice. So the wonderful team up the back, Kelly, Brian, Bobby, I don't think I've missed anyone. They're very busy at the moment, our team. We had a lot more last time. I'll just guilt them on camera into coming next time. But yeah, if it wasn't for them, I'd probably still be setting this all up. So UFO landing going on.
Sorry, my friends are coming. I'm sorry.
Stop the choir. So Soft Choice is like, these guys are not getting paid to be here. They're really involved in the community with the cloud space and everything. Soft Choice is known for Microsoft. I think we're up there in the top 1 or 2 Microsoft vendors in Canada and the US. Pretty big, broad focus there on the Microsoft space, but we're also doing Amazon, VMware Cloud, every single piece. So it's from start to finish, doing the implementation, helping you with the design. Actually, I should say design, implementation, and then helping you after you've already jumped onto the cloud, because it's quite daunting when you first jump into the cloud to really understand that. So we'll educate, train you, whatever you need to feel comfortable with it. And then Coffee Cloud is a bit of my own. That's just my own personal blog. Jump on there for free, read my opinion bases on everything that's happening in the cloud. And I'm trying to grow that, try to have some training around there, some videos, and as you saw, putting up the PUG groups videos up online on the Coffee Cloud side as well. And who's going to come up? So I'd like to invite. Just before I let you have the mic, these guys, like, there was a training class going on here only about 2 hours ago. They were great, and we're probably annoying them up the back there, like trying to be quiet, got plugs in the ears, trying to ignore us here. But great guys for letting us have this space, no charge, helping out the community, and yeah, thanks for that. And let you tell us a little bit about CodeCore.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you guys all for coming today. I mean, we're always happy to sponsor, and this is certainly one of the best, well-organized meetups. Thanks to you guys. It's really good. So yeah, I mean, CodeCore, we're a code web development bootcamp. We basically teach our students web development with Ruby on Rails, JavaScript, jQuery, and CSS, and then we help them get into the industry and hopefully become like one of you guys in the future, doing virtual reality or web development or anything else. So yeah, I mean that's it in brief, basically. And yeah, we're always happy to sponsor such events. And we have the community week, by the way, coming in a couple of weeks. There's lunch and learns also, some more talks happening over lunch. They're all welcome to come.
What's the website?
Events.codecore.ca.
Glad you asked.
Good question, Drew. So yeah, thank you very much and enjoy your evening.
Okay, so this list is looking really long now that it's up on the big screen. I don't know if everybody can read that. That doesn't matter. It's just there to prompt me. It's a lot of talking points. Although I have a rule of 3 slides, I do cram a lot sometimes into one. So I've concentrated this week on Amazon, Microsoft, and VMware just because they seem to have the biggest announcements. Amazon, I'm very biased, like they have a lot going on. I mean, just last year they had 517 updates or something that occurred, so there's always going to be a long list there. So just quickly running through it, and feel free to interrupt me while I'm running through these to ask questions or anything I might know about these topics, and happy for us to chat. So there was a new update for Microsoft's System Center. So if you're running System Center to control your on-premise or your data center, if you didn't already know, you can use that to control Amazon as well, and Azure. But Amazon have been doing a lot of updates just in the last 4 months to really blur that boundary between on-premise and cloud and that hybrid cloud work.
Hey, man, will you mind staying over there?
I was trying to stay out of the.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Make some selection.
I'm going to be in everybody's way, aren't
Stay
I?
where you were.
I'm so sorry, but let's make some selection.
Oh, okay. But don't worry, I can put the slide decks up later. So
Okay, good.
you can get that.
Happy memory.
Technology, it's all in the cloud.
Yeah.
Classically, so the old school way of doing your network on Amazon was very individual servers. They brought in VPC a year or a few years ago, which really bunched your whole network of servers together. So now they've made it easier to move from that old school of networking to the new. Lambada has gone into preview mode, so that was something that was announced at reInvent in November. It's sort of around having code to be triggered when an event happens, something that you've got running in Amazon. EC2 auto recovery, so if something happens with the hardware on Amazon, your server can automatically restore but retain its IP addresses and all information, so you don't end up on a new VM with. Yep, Drew?
Was the question answered yesterday? Is that a start or a restart?
I didn't want to interrupt Jeff, but I believe it is a stop-start. Your server will go down,
Right.
but will come automatically back up on new hardware. I think he kind of touched on that. For those that weren't in the room, there was an AWS event last night. Jeff Barr, who's the
Chief
biggest
evangelist?
evangelist. He does the blog for AWS. We were lucky enough to have him in town for one night only. This topic came up, and yeah, it is a stop-start, but that's why it's such a good thing, is that it's keeping the IP addresses and things like that. So you're moving to new hardware, but still being able to retain those things that are unique normally to a hardware device. EC2 spot instances, termination notices. I didn't know about this until I started just looking up the announcements. So that's really cool that if you use spot instances, let's say you're in the education or scientific area, spot instances is something that you probably know about. You can now get an alert to 2-minute alert before it gets terminated. I won't go into spot instances now if you don't know what they are, but happy to talk about that if you're in those areas of the industry and interested now because I've piqued your interest. Amazon also announced their wind farm. So last year they announced that they're going to be carbon neutral. I don't know if there's a date for that, but I was reading that they're already about 3 of their data centers are carbon neutral already in the US. And they have actually teamed up, started doing wind farms around that. I think also, if I don't have it there, they've also made a deal with a US company around, I don't know if it's wind farms, but Pattern Energy, I think, around future involvement in getting all that carbon neutral across all their data centers. They also bought a chip maker, so the idea there, I think they're an Israeli company. The idea there is Amazon is obviously going to start manufacturing their own chips that are specialized to their workloads. And I mean, it is a little bit unique, their sort of style of data center, so it makes sense. Then, what else? We got. Oh yeah, so AWS increased their lead in the cloud space. There's been a lot of talk about Azure, and you'll see I also point out that Azure is the fastest growing cloud out there. But Amazon is actually, they've reached 1 million users, 1 million active clients per month, that is. So that's going back 1 month, they had 1 million active users. So it's not something where they've fuddled with the numbers and gone, oh, over a year we had 1 million people activated, but that's actual active traffic going on there. So yeah, and that's a 5-year high for them, which I was surprised at. So obviously they're growing quite good as well, but obviously they've already grown to such a large state that they're not the quickest growing. But I mean, they should be worried about Azure. They're second in the race, and they're growing quite fast as well. And then the 2 last ones are probably the biggest announcements, I would say, is Amazon's going to reveal their financials. So until now, they've been bundling all their financials with Amazon, the shopping website, and their Fire and Kindle and all those sort of devices. And they've been just releasing it all meshed together. So nobody knew what the financials were for AWS. Obviously, they're finally not breaking even, or something's happened, or I don't know, there's pressure because they think Amazon are just wasting money or something. So they've announced that they're going to release the financials around AWS. So that'll be pretty cool to see what's going on there and what sort of profits they're seeing, whether they are at a negative or break even. And then also they announced Workmail. So Workmail really ties into what we'll be talking about tonight. We won't be touching on this, but if you think about it, we'll be touching on VDI in the cloud, which is workspaces. And Amazon's vision, obviously, is to bring in software as a service to run on your virtual desktop in the cloud. So they already had WorkDocs, which was Zocalo, which I'm glad they changed because I was having a hard time pronouncing that all the time. I'm probably still pronouncing it wrong. But WorkDocs is like their Dropbox type solution. And then Workmail is going to be like, I guess like Google Docs or Office 365 from Microsoft, but it's still in its infancy in that it's only mail and calendar, I believe, at the moment. So they don't have all the other web-based Office-like products. But I'm sure it's coming. So then there's Azure. So they just announced, I think it's only a couple of days ago, auto backup and patching for SQL servers. General availability of their encryption for media streaming, which was announced, I think we were talking about it at the last PUG. So that's now in general availability. And Global Azure. I just found out about this today. Apparently this is a worldwide Azure, sort of like a user group. Maybe Jeff, you and I can organize something around that. Yeah, it's April 25th. It's not Microsoft run, but obviously they'd be trying to encourage it. It's community driven, just like what we're doing here. It is just focused on Azure. So I might let Jeff, who's the evangelist for Azure in Vancouver, take the lead on that, but definitely be very interested. I'm sure we all would learn about Azure a bit more, and also on a global scale, like the fact that there's so many people going to tap into this all in one day. And then Azure, obviously, they've got their Bing search thing that they've brought into Azure, so they've done a bit more upgrading on that. So you could already do search for your applications and that using Azure, but now they've improved it by adding suggestions. Blender. So Blender's a 3D animation rendering service, software service, and what Azure's now done is that they've integrated that into their service called Batch, which is a scheduling service. So the idea is that if you're a company that does 3D animation, gaming, rendering, say you're an architect or something like that, you can offload. You don't have to have a render farm or something like that on premise. You can offload your workloads up to Azure. It'll do all the processing for you and pump out the rendered images. So, I mean, I used to live in the Middle East for a while for an architecture firm there, and every staff member had 2 machines. One machine would be sitting there rendering, while the other machine they keep working. So this would have been awesome at the time, just to say, look, just pump it up to the cloud, keep working, and then in like a couple of hours it'll pump out your rendered image. Because they were sitting there, like, I must say, we would have like a day or two where one PC would not be able to be used because it was sitting there rendering. Azure being the fastest growing cloud, and Azure's released their roadmap. So they've actually got a website, and you can have a look on the slides later on. I've got the web address up there. But they've actually created a website that talks about their roadmap of where they're going. So it's actually got tabs there that talk about what they're working on at the moment, what they're testing, what they're thinking about, and what they've scrapped. So things that they might have had in beta or something like that, they've decided not too hard, not doing, or maybe something that they're rethinking and going back to the drawing board and doing again. So I think that's pretty cool, especially compared to Amazon, who, like, as anybody who was at the group listening to Jeff last night, not putting dirt on Jeff, but as he said, he doesn't even know what's happening with Amazon until it's released. So quite a contrast. I do like it when the clouds aren't. It's sort of like politics, I guess. You don't know who to vote for when everybody's saying the same thing. But I love it when this sort of thing happens, where Amazon's saying, we can't tell you anything, and Microsoft's saying, look, we've got a roadmap. And that's quite a risk, because then Amazon and others are going to look at it and go, oh, they're doing this, that's the direction that they're going in. So, but I think for companies that can add a lot more stability, we can all know, even like developers, sysadmins, everyone can have a look and go, right, Microsoft is not going in the direction I want to for another 12 months. Okay, well, let's put that project on hold, let's do something else. So one thing I do get frustrated all the time is when I architect a solution for a client, and then Bob and I were talking about this just yesterday, which is an hour after I submit the proposal to the client, somebody says to me, why'd you do that? There's this new thing that they just announced today. Didn't you hear about that? And then I have to go back to the drawing board and rewrite it and resubmit it and apologize to the client. At least I was on the ball and knew about it, but I mean, it could easily slip through the cracks and I could never know about it if a competitor finds out. And we've got egg on our faces because we didn't know what was announced 59 minutes ago. So it's great to see that roadmap and know the direction that they're going in, sort of thing. And yeah, the biggest announcement, left best to last, VMware and Google teaming up. What did I call it? Voongoog. I've been playing around with words in my blog and stuff, coming up with ideas. But yeah, so this was really good because VMware in November last year were telling me, okay, we're going to do storage as a service, we're going to do all this great stuff that Amazon and Azure are already doing, And I was saying to clients, I don't really know about this. It seems half-baked. It's still in beta. I like to give 6 months after it even goes GA before I even start recommending things. And VMware had a really good solution there for your machines, like moving your VMs up to the cloud and all that. But when it comes to storage as a service and that, I don't know, I wasn't very confident. But now that I hear that Google's the one doing that storage as a service, it gives me a lot more confidence. I was also wondering what Google were doing, because Google have been quite quiet recently. And this just makes sense. I think it's the perfect marriage there of Google looking after the more SaaS side, I guess, of storage as a service, and I guess storage as a service isn't really SaaS, it's still infrastructure, but it's more that not worrying about it. And VMware is going to look after your networking and your full-blown servers and those sort of things. So, and VMware are doing a lot of work on their vCenter. So, if anybody here uses vCenter, you can actually see the cost of your servers before you deploy them from the actual single pane of glass that they've got, which is vCenter for managing all your VMware workloads. So quite excited about that. I think they're going to become, Google was already talked about as becoming the third competitor in that big boy space. I think that marriage with VMware now is just, in my mind, cemented that a bit more. So it'll be really good to see what happens in the next 6 months in that area.
A question.
Yes.
Usually, when you're talking about the vCloud, a lot of people will be frustrated into the VMware cloud. Is that true or not?
So the question is, people getting frustrated about vCloud Air?
Yeah, that's what the vCloud. What's it stand for? Is that for VMware cloud or the?
Oh, so the question is, what does vCloud Air stand for?
That's right.
Oh, you have to talk to their marketing department, I guess.
Yeah, I got several answers from this one, because nobody knows that exactly, because...
Yeah, I mean, they've gone through some iterations. I think 6 months ago it was called VCHS, which I was like, great, another acronym for me to learn. vCloud Air now, it's just marketing, just branding. I don't think they're going to change their name just because Google's in there. Oh, and me saying VM Goo, that's just me. That's nothing serious, nothing official there. So, did anybody else have a question?
VMware is known for their software-defined enterprise, which can shoot things up to the cloud or whatever, any app, anywhere, anytime, whatever it is. Does that, if they team up with Google, does that mean that they're not going to be able to work with Azure or AWS, or do you know if there's any competitive advantages to Google?
Okay, so the question is, VMware matching up with Google, does that pull them out of being compatible with the other cloud players?
Correct, yeah.
I would say there's, like a lot of companies now, they're betting, making many bets. So VMware has their single pane of glass, their management console, which is vCenter, which competes with Microsoft System Center. And that is going to still manage either your vCloud Air, your Amazon, your Azure. And I think, like most, they're saying it's up to Amazon to build the plugin, to plug into their vCenter tool to manage Amazon. And it's up to Microsoft to build their plugin. So if there's not a plugin for your cloud, it's probably your cloud is not interested in plugging into vCenter and doing the development work. Maybe there's a third party out there. One of you might be interested in doing some sort of plugin for somebody else's cloud. But that's a separate story, I think. And then when it comes to what they're actually hosting in their data center in the cloud, I don't know how it's going to work, because I would imagine Google has their own infrastructure and VMware seems to have the philosophy of outsourcing their data centers to other data centers around the world, which is why they've been able to spread so quickly and catch up to Azure and Amazon, who do their own hardware. So I'm not sure what Google's philosophy was previously. I had a feeling Google was doing the same as Amazon and Azure, where they were doing their own hardware. So that bit is interesting, how they will bring that to marry together. I guess There may be a bit where there might be some regions around the world that don't have the Google services at first until those private data centers purchase the Google hardware and software to put in there. But I wouldn't claim to know the details. If anybody else does, let us know. But
Basically, you're saying VMware is going to work with all of them.
VMware has their software, vCenter and those sort of bits that you run on a server, and that's going to work with all of them. What they're doing in the cloud is another story. Sorry, did anybody else have anything for that massive list? All trying to digest it all and then picking up with the
All those free, you're good for the supply on demand on surface.
Sorry, the demand.
Demand on surface. For example, I don't need to sign a contract with Amazon or Microsoft or VMware. You just need something on cloud surface, and then demand on surface for these free cloud providers.
What is the fee per cloud provider?
Yeah, they all go for the demand on surface feature.
Yes. Well, I guess that's another kettle of fish altogether. I mean, we touched on spot instances before. You've got reserved instances with Amazon. There's all different pricing you can do on demand for lots of clouds. I know Rackspace and Amazon and others have their pay up front model as well, so you can mix and match the paying as you go, or you can give them an upfront fee and that sort of thing. But yeah, happy to direct you to the right websites to find out whichever cloud you're after.
Yeah, even for Amazon, I found that they have several types of the feature for different clients. Okay, sign a contract or demand on surface or other.
Yeah, EA agreements.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Right.
there's probably don't want to get into licensing and costs now. We'll be here all night. It's probably the most boring bit of my job.
One point is that last December I take the Microsoft Azure seminar. Find out that the price of the cloud has been dropped for 90%, even for Dropbox and Amazon. Is that true right now?
It probably would have been. There's announcements all the time. I know Google. So the question was, did Microsoft drop their prices in December by 90%? I remember something last year where Google dropped their prices a heap, Microsoft dropped theirs, Amazon dropped theirs.
Dropbox.
There was a lot of talk last year about storage becoming free because it's so competitive. So yeah, prices are dropping all the time. It's a great thing about the cloud is I do these forecast compliance that says 7 years from now you'll be spending this much, but I don't do it enough. But what I should point out is prices are going to go down. So I'm giving you worst case scenario. 7 years from now you'll be spending this. If you love that price, then you're really going to love it in 7 years time when it's free. So, but the thing is, I'm not worried about the client coming back and saying, Matt, you said this was going to cost me $700,000 a year, and it's costing me $10. So yeah, it's always going to go down. I think it might plateau at some stage, but I would be shocked. I don't want to be that person that says it's never going to go up, but I don't believe it will, as long as there's competition. As long as there's all these clouds happening. It's just like the big chain stores, Walmart and all them.
How to convince the customer to go for the cloud business, since the fluctuation and the barrel of the oil.
Oh, oils, yeah. We can talk offline about that. I do a lot of work in oil and gas, and that's a big topic is the pay, the OPEX versus CAPEX. But we better, I can see Dora's getting a bit impatient there. She's eager to tell us what she's doing on VR. So I just thought I'd bring this into context though, because Dora's going to talk to us about VR. But you might be wondering, well, what do VR and cloud got to do with each other? So there's a lot of the back end is really what VR can really gather from the cloud. And it's not just VR, there's a lot of creative and even boring services out there that people don't realize, like mobile development and all that, which you can actually offload a lot of the processing to online. So say you're doing HTML code, you can have your LAMP stack up in there. Media streaming, stuff that we didn't even think could be in the cloud is now like gaming and streaming and 3D rendering. So all that's Obviously, there's the risk though of network latency. As Dora will probably talk about the fact that there's that disconnect when you move your head and the screen doesn't refresh properly, and you get that nausea feeling because of that. So obviously, the internet's going to be, the cloud is going to be further away from something that's running and rendering live on the actual system itself. But the cloud guys are actually working on that. Microsoft are doing their streaming, and there's a lot of games now that are doing those sort of things. And then even Oculus themselves are doing time warp now, which is this new way of looking at it, where the way I won't claim to be a VR expert, but the way I see it is it's kind of like watching Netflix, and your internet's really bad, and your audio might be able to sync with your video, and you're just like, oh man, the words are moving and no voice is coming out. So what they do is, I believe, is they take out a lot of the frames that you're going to see and make it match up with the voice. So the same way in VR, that you're moving your head and it's doing a last calculation just before it shows you the image of where your head is. So therefore it should be more precise of what you're seeing, rather than taking the coordinates at the start, then processing it, but then your head's already moved and therefore it's out of sync of where your head's moved. So if that makes sense, Dora will probably make more sense of it than me. But they are looking at that in the cloud. So that is something, gaming is a big area, science, gaming, research, those sort of things. Doing a lot of compute power up there. We're talking about thousands, millions of servers up on Amazon to do those sort of workloads. And all the other clouds. I don't know why I just threw out Amazon, but so Dora, I keep referencing you, but so just a quick introduction about Dora. She's the co-founder of UForest,
Yes.
did I pronounce that right?
Yep.
So they were good enough to let us try out the Oculus down there if you had a chance to have a play on the various games. She's got a very strong background in the gaming industry, working for EA, Big Fish, even BlackBerry and Oracle. I did a bit of Googling. So yeah, I'll hand it over to Dora.
Thank you. Awesome. Hi everyone. So as mentioned, my name is Dora, and I am here with my team Dong, and we brought our demo with us today. And what we do is we have an XML and JavaScript-based API that lets developers put web elements, so the videos, images, spherical panoramas, you name it, into virtual reality. And we also have a browser that lets you see the content that you created. So what we brought today is a demo of that technology. So if you have a chance, please come by, take a quick look, and tell us what you think about it. So what we also do is we talk to different business verticals to understand how VR could help in their business goals. So for example, architecture, real estate, tourism. And you can imagine that something like architecture would be very interested in it because people want to walk through, say, a condo that has not been built yet. So my team and I spent a lot of time thinking about VR and where it's at and where it's going and so on and so forth. So what we found is that when people think about VR, they think of these fantastical worlds, these worlds that are linked one to the other, and you can go hop from one and then go with your buddies or with strangers to a place that is entirely unlike the one before. So what I'm going to talk about today is exactly how far away are we from this vision, and where this vision actually comes from, and what people are doing in order to bring that vision about. So VR is a huge topic, and with Oculus acquisition by Facebook, $2 billion, almost a year ago now, everyone's been trying to understand what VR is and is it really the basic thing and so on. So it's a huge topic. So if anything that I talk about today sparks your interest, come by, ask me questions, anything that you want to know.
Because for the VR, you are going to the 2D, 3D, or 4D, just seen that in the side graph.
Well, I guess it's 3D in the sense that you can walk through these different spaces. But as you will probably see, it's not necessary. There are content out there where you cannot actually walk through. So say like a still picture, then it's just you are in, for example, the Vatican or the Colosseum, and you see it around you, but you can't actually walk into a space in the Colosseum.
Thank you.
So where are we at right now? So this is the top-rated VR demos on Oculus Share, which is sort of like the App Store, where you can go in and try different demos. And this was about a week ago in terms of the top-rated demos that are out there. They're all created by developers, either through C, C++, Unity, Unreal, all sorts of things. Most likely Unity or Unreal. And if you want to try out each of them, what you do is you have to download them one by one. So there are usually no slouch items. So this one right here is 600 megabytes. This one is 444. And this one I think is 200 something. So they're not small apps, unlike mobile, right? And if you were to, after you download them, if you were lucky, they would work. And most likely they won't. What you have to do is fiddle around with the app settings, and then fiddle around with the headset settings, or even your graphics card settings, and even then it will work. So there's a lot of threads. If you go to the Oculus forum, a lot of threads on these apps and talk about how do I get this working, this is working, what do I do? So it's a hassle in many ways. And once you finish, say, I wanted to try virtual desktop, and then I want to go to Pixel Rift. I have to shut down virtual desktop, take off the headset, go and launch Pixel Rift, and put my headset back on. So very, very cumbersome. And then what's more is you are only enjoying it yourself. You're not walking through any of these with your buddies. There's some multiplayer games out there, like Team Fortress 2, for example, from Valve, that is actually enabled for virtual reality. But most of the time, you are actually just standalone downloads that are isolated by themselves. So, in other words, what do we actually want to get to?
Oh, go on.
Yes.
For the kind of the demo link, so we use some kind of the 3D glass.
Sorry, say that again.
So we use some kind of 3D glass to make it much more entertaining.
Oh, you mean so the question was, are these 3D spaces that you can walk?
Yeah, that's it.
Some of them are. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this one definitely is. Whereas virtual desktop is exactly as it sounds. So you can actually, when you launch it up, you can see your own desktop. And if you were to attach, I guess, or assign particular VR apps to it, then you don't have to take off your headset.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way to do it. So they're different. So the types of content that you can see on Oculus Share are games. A lot of them are games. Some utility, and some standalone videos. So simply walking through Paris, for example. So all of these different kinds of standalone content.
Thank you.
So what is it that we want to get to? And when we talk about VR, especially 7 or 8 months ago, when it's not as popular, when it's not as famous, people usually says, oh, you need the Star Trek holodeck, or you need the Matrix. And that is actually absolutely true. They are both great virtual worlds. But as far as this whole head-mounted display and haptic feedback gloves and that kind of vision, it could be attributed to two seminal science fiction works. And one of them is Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. And another one is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. So Neil Stephenson, Snow Crash, was, I think, written in the early 90s, so it's a little bit, if you were to read it, it's a little bit dated. If you were talking about Ready Player One, that one is 2011, so it has a very Warcraft multiplayer game feel to it. Now, what is it that they actually talk about? Snow Crash talks about this metaverse, is what Neil Stephenson called. The metaverse is basically this long street, this giant street, kind of like the Las Vegas Strip, where you walk down and you go into different storefronts, different places, and you can learn, you can club with your buddies, various different things. And because we are a room of developers here, this is what he actually says about developers. So for the metaverse, developers can build their own small streets, feeding off the main one. They can build buildings, parks, signs, as well as things that do not exist in reality, such as vast hovering overhead-like shows, special neighborhoods, where the rules of three-dimensional space-time are completely ignored. So, very fantastic, right? Now what does Ready Player One say? So Ready Player One talks about this world called Oasis. It stands for something, I have no idea off the top of my head. And it contained thousands of simulated worlds. It is the world's biggest public library, has access to every book, every song, every movie, television show, video game, and piece of artwork. Chat rooms are standalone simulations, temporary virtual spaces that avatars could access from anywhere in Oasis. So both of them, Stevenson and Klein, talk about the metaverse and Oasis everywhere in the book. But the basic premise of both of these worlds is it is a bunch of interconnected, fantastical worlds, different spaces, different locations that look completely different from each other. And you can go from one to the other without ever going out of the experience. And this is a malleable reality where you can make changes in real time by yourself, or somebody is going to make that change and you can see it also in real time. So this is way beyond an app. This is way beyond an app store. You never have to go from, say, I come out of the library in the metaverse, and then I shut down the metaverse, and you go into a club in the metaverse, and so on and so forth. It's all completely accessed from anywhere in the world, changed from anywhere in the world. So that's a vision that we want to get to. How far away are we? Well, we're actually really, really far, as far as where we are today. So to get there, there are some really, really smart people at Mozilla and Google mostly, who are working on this as we speak right now. So what they're working on is something called the Web VR API. So it's a mishmash of WebGL, JavaScript, CSS. Glam is from a web, this kind of web 3D kind of totally crazy. So it is more markup language based instead of JavaScript. And all of these people are trying to make the browsers work for VR basically. None of this is actually available to the regular downloads of Firefox or Chrome. They are only available right now at the Firefox nightly builds or Chromium. That's the only place you can get them, because they're not ready for prime time. And there's a few reasons why they're not ready for prime time. Number one is, well, it's not a very big community right now. It's very small number of people who are actually interested in doing this. And actually 2, 3, and 4 are very difficult to surmount right now. People are working on it, but it's going to take time. So number one is latency. So basically latency is the time it takes from motion, so say you moving your head in your headset, to the last photon hitting your eye. That latency has to be very, very low in order for you to feel like you're still in the world and you do not get sick. So that's very important. But in order to get to the latency that's required, the rendering pipeline for these browsers need to be retooled, need to be optimized. That's slow going. It's just going to take time. The second thing is input. If you have a chance to try our demo, for example, and this is true for most of the demos out there, you can only interact with them through the keyboard or Xbox controller. Those are the two are the most popular mainstream, quote unquote, input out there.
What about the sound?
Sorry?
What about the sound?
Good question. So what people usually ask is, well, voice recognition. So it's getting there, but there's still a lot of different things that we need to address. It's not the mouse for VR has not been implemented yet, because you have a headset over your head. You can no longer see your keyboard or the mouse. That's no longer optimal. The Xbox controller is a mess of buttons. It's hard for most people. There's voice recognition, but Siri is kind of, it's kind of wonky still, right? So the kind of, it's not sophisticated enough for us to use fully yet. There are other companies that are trying to do treadmills, remote nunchuck style, non-haptic feedback gloves, everything. So there's a lot of people trying to solve that problem.
But I mean the sound around when
Oh,
when you turn your
Yeah.
for instance.
So the next SDK that Oculus is going to come up with, that was going to have audio at some point. So the Crescent Bay, which is the latest prototype from Oculus, you can actually hear the difference that audio makes. So we're very excited about that. And aside from input, it's just simple tool sophistication. So if you're looking at rendering, beautiful blade of grass, or the next Call of Duty, well, that's not possible in web right now. Well, it's not possible in web right now, it's even more impossible in VR right now. So it's going, all of these going to technology in terms of making it work for the browsers. So at this point, you probably mentioned that, as you may recall, we are also trying to help developers put web elements into VR, but our approach is a little different. So Mozilla and Google are trying to put VR elements into VR. So you can think of it as they want you to create something for the browser, plug in a headset and see it in the browser. We are the other way around. So we have VR running already, and we want you to put your web elements into VR. So it's a different way of viewing the problem, basically. And we chose it largely because of performance, such as latency, but there's a bunch of other reasons as well. So we'll see how. It's funny because when we're in meetups with Mozilla, this always comes out is that they're actually coming with a different view than we are. And so and there are other people who are looking at an approach that is more similar to ours, to Mozilla. So every one of us in VR right now are trying to solve the problems at the moment.
A question.
Yes.
The connection with the gentleman about the audio transmission
Yes.
To your headset is full wireless. Is full the Bluetooth 4.1.
No, right now it's headset. You have to put the goggles on, and then you have to put the headset. So none of this is very mobile at the moment.
They're wireless, right?
Yeah. So it's the only VR headset that is actually completely wireless is the Gear VR. So that one, you put a Galaxy Note S4 into a slot, and you put the goggle over your face. So that one is completely wireless. But in order to say hear sound coming out of it, you still have to wear the regular headphones that's plugged into the goggles. So it's all none of it is very sensitive in terms of the setup.
Thank you.
So if you want to know more about where WebVR API is at, I highly recommend this playlist called Browser-Based Virtual Reality in HTML5. So it has Google and Mozilla and Tony Parisi talking about where it's at, and they actually go deep into how the code works and what you can use and so on and so forth. I'm also on Twitter, so I tweet out different VR news and so on and so forth. And if you want to hear more about VR in general, news about VR, what's coming down the pipe, what's happened in the past month, we are going to start sending out a newsletter, and we have a low-tech sign-in sheet at sign-in. Please feel free to sign up.
Can you say something about the VR with HTML5? Because last week they have a HTML5 coming code Microsoft. Is HTML5 right now ready for all the video content and all the image right now?
Oh, you mean HTML5?
Yeah.
I'm actually not even very up to date on where the HTML5 is, and that's a large topic, so we can probably take this offline, and we can talk about where we find your information on that, because that's a vast topic on where it is.
Yeah, because of this good book for the reality. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got 10 minutes, right, because we all want to get home. I believe there was a game tonight, so I'm just going to wait 10 minutes till the game traffic is left, and then we can... but who here owns a drone? Okay. So who here wants to own a drone? Oh, really? Oh, okay. Who wants to own 2 drones? Is that what it is? yeah, just. Okay, so we won't talk about me. So just quickly, what I'm going to be covering in the next 9 minutes is VDI, remote app, and then blending the 2 together. So with VDI, you've got Amazon's got their workspaces. I was hoping to give you guys a demo of just doing that in 3 minutes, but that would use up half my talking time. Hey, no, don't tempt me. But basically what that is I basically jump onto Amazon's website, log in, go to their workspaces area, and probably 3 more clicks and I've got a desktop building, sends the user an email address saying this is the app for your tablet or your iOS tablet or your Android tablet or for your Windows tablet or your Windows laptop. You can then, they use Teradici technology to make sure you've got a secure connection up to your desktop in the cloud. So you can jump on any device anywhere. You can even use RDP or any of the other technologies. It's just by default, those ports are blocked, but you can open them up and you're away. You can have all your staff using this from anywhere. So the idea there is that we can control our drone from anywhere using our desktop in the cloud. Starting at $25 per user, so it's a killer for people that have ever done the Citrix world. You've got to do 7 Windows servers, you've got to have your NetScaler on the front end, you've got to have all this load balancing happening, you've got to have golden images, all this complexity. So Amazon have taken a lot of that away. It's still not as mature as Citrix, obviously. Citrix have been around forever in the IT scope of things. And this is very new, but obviously with Amazon's innovations and updates all the time, this is already starting to look better and better. I think they only released it at the start of last year. So then remote app. So remote app, the idea there is that we want to build a server, a Windows 2012 R2 server on Amazon, have it as a remote app so that we can, so that end users on their Windows PC or in their VDI workspace in Amazon can have an application virtually appear on their desktop. So therefore it doesn't matter if they're not got the right flavor of Windows, which in this case for using drones, a lot of the drone software from Parrot has all been written for Windows 8 and Windows 2012 server, but Amazon Workspaces is Windows 7, Windows 2008, so there's the incompatibility there. So that's why we're using Remote App in order to publish the newer version of Windows to an older version desktop. But at the same time, we could also run that from any machine without using Amazon's workspaces. But the idea here is that we don't want the end user to have any complications. We just want them to jump onto any machine, put the web link in or the app, download it, put their username and password in, and they're in. No downloading and connection VPNs or anything like that. So that's what we're talking about. So use cases, why would somebody even want to do this? So surveying indoors, outdoors, maybe you've got a VR and you want to have your, you want to survey the inside without ever being there. You have your drone fly around the room, do all your 3D capturing in the room, and then Dora grabs that information, puts it into your VR headset, and you're on the other side of the world, but you can see what's actually in that room happening without anybody being there except for the person who changed the battery. That's the one thing I did learn, that you don't get much battery life out of the early drones. They are getting better in that. But yeah, mining, oil and gas, real estate, architecture, they all want to do surveying of land outdoors. Architecture, GIS, like surveying of cities, to look at blocks of land, to work out, maybe they want to do, like Google Maps is great, but it's not up to date all the time, and I know a lot of architects and that out there want to know what's happened around that urban development in the last 12 months or something like that, so what's changed. And yeah, surveying, humanitarian aid, I did see that. I was like, what are they looking for there? The guerrilla guys with the AK-47s, where they're at the moment, I don't know. But also search and rescue is one that I didn't list up there, which I've heard people lost in the forest. I guess here we probably see it a lot, people going outside the boundaries up at grouse and that, and then getting lost. So might be handy even here. And then storm damage assessment. Maybe it's for insurance, maybe it's for mining, oil and gas areas where it's remote and you've got your expert, but he doesn't want to fly all the way out to this remote, cold, negative 20-degree location. So we just get him on piloting the drone to have a look at what he wants to see. So you've got GPS, you've got all that sort of plotting built into these devices. You can access it from anywhere, so with the whole VDI or remote app, we can go and access it from anywhere. Ready at no notice, so except for the charging of the drone and just making sure nobody's standing in front of it when we take off. And yeah, zero setup, except for our initial setup when we first do it. And then also, I just wanted to mention this, I was mentioning about battery life being really bad. Parrot's got this really cool drone, which is, everybody's probably familiar with the drones being helicopters, but they've actually got this one that's actually like a plane. So the idea is gliding, being able to do a lot of aerial surveying, but not having to worry about battery life. So that's really, really cool, that sort of stuff, I think. I think that's going to open up a lot of doors there and really make this become a reality. So in the 3 minutes I have left, so this is something I just put together yesterday, just to give everybody a visual idea of where I'm seeing this in the cloud. So you've got your end users here, maybe they're in a Canadian office. We've got to have people in Australia because they're the second most intelligent people in the world. Canadians, obviously, or maybe we're equal, I don't know. US office, obviously, because we can't leave them out of anything. And then even roaming users, maybe you're at the airport or anywhere. So they're all connecting up to the internet here. That little writing there is just saying it's a standard internet connection, no fancy VPN, no fancy hardware. All they need is an internet connection. Connecting up to their Amazon cloud here. They've got their VDI desktops here sitting ready for them. They connect in, they access their app. I'm trying to work out how to point here. I have a laser pointer, I should probably use that. Anti-technology. But they're using that app to use the Parrot app to control over here. We do have a VPN here between the Amazon cloud and your site. So say it's in China, you're doing mining over in China, you've got that VPN, there's a Cisco equipment sitting there. It doesn't have to be Cisco, it can be anything. I just pick Cisco. But then you'd have to have your outdoor wireless so that it has a range for the area that you want to look after where the drone is going to be flying. Because obviously the drone needs a Wi-Fi connection to be able to flying around. But that sort of equipment is pretty amazing and pretty cheap these days as well. So, I mean, mining companies probably wouldn't blink an eye at the price, but even for, I know 10 years ago that outdoor wireless equipment was getting down to prices that anybody could afford.
Can this Wi-Fi go into the AU?
AU?
Yeah, the new one for VMware, not HC, AU, new one. ABG and HCAU, yeah.
Is this Wi-Fi
Yeah, Wi-Fi AU.
technology?
Yeah.
You've lost me. I'll have to bring a networking expert here next
For the
time.
WAN networking, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't claim to be networking. Networking is probably my weakest area. That's why, as far as I go, is I can program a Cisco router, but that's about it. Only for internet connection as well. Nothing fancy. Soft choice, we have network experts, so I don't have to worry about that. But basically, like trust me, it works. Is that what you want to hear? And this is just an image here of their new drone that they're bringing out. So it's a glider type thing. So I do know everybody was hoping for an actual drone to crash here and explode on fire tonight. I decided that we would actually leave that for the next part, just because of time and everything. So a bit of MacGyver. I've got. It's going to be interesting. It will work, but the tricky thing will be we're going to do it through cell phones. So we're going to have 2 cell phone connections. So if I just go back to the slide, so next part, what we'll be doing is this VPN bit here to the drone. So obviously we'll have to have the drone and me in the same room, but to prove that it's not just me connecting directly to it, we're going to have 2 internet connections. One will be either the venue that we're in, the other one will be a device that I've already got set up, which will establish the VPN to the cloud, and therefore you'll be able to see, and we'll be able to proof the concept by turning things off and seeing that it stops working and things like that. So, yeah, so that's for the next PUG. I figured anyway, everybody was probably overwhelmed with all the excitement tonight with the VR stuff. So we'll bring along MacGyver next time, have a bit of fun with the VR stuff, and maybe even Internet of Things. So, does anybody have any questions about that? I'm trying to fly through so quickly.
So VDI, I guess you can any device.
Yeah.
But for that solution, do you need the compute at the data center to help with that, or is it just the minimal internet connection? It works, and you can do it from anywhere. Like I'm just trying to figure out that solution. Or is it the compute at the data center that makes it work better, or?
Yeah. So this desktop bit here is using a very small amount of compute. I mean, you can scale it up to something big, but you wouldn't need much at all.
Right.
This server over here, the remote app, that would probably be doing a lot of the work because it's doing, you've obviously got a camera on the drone, which is relaying back images, video live feed. So that's where a lot of the workload's happening. And because it's in a virtual sort of thing, the desktop's really, it could be the $25 desktop. And even your laptop, if you wanted to not use AWS, you could have an old, probably not a 486 DX4100, but maybe something only 5 years old, and you could still be running this sort of equipment. So even, I think I showed here, you probably can't read that, but my examples was even thin clients, so dumb terminals. I don't know if everybody's familiar with them, but they're just this dumb, really simple, probably the power processing of it of a Nokia from 5 years ago sort of thing, probably is the power load that flew the first man to space type processing. It's very simple, that's why they call it dumb terminals. Is the idea is that all the processing is happening in the cloud. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah. I just trying to determine like it's all the processing is going out in the cloud, and that's valuable to that solution. If you couldn't just be running on a decent computer, forget about the mobility of any of them. But you're saying, why do I need the cloud really? Couldn't I just bypass it? Yeah.
You could, but you would have to set up that individual device sort of thing. I guess the beauty of this that I'm talking about, and it's not just for the drones, it's also about what more can we do with this as well once we're there. This is just one piece of probably a bigger puzzle that a company has. Because you wouldn't just set this up for that. You'd also say, okay, all our staff are also going to have all their office suite up there, and they're going to have our CRM system and all that running up there. But this is just, to keep it simplistic, this is just one piece of the puzzle that you would have up there. But again, yes, you could have it running from your tablet or something like that, but obviously you would still have to have some sort of VPN from your device here then to up to here. So if you're bypassing this, then you've got this complex little messy VPN that you've got to set up. So yes, it could be a software VPN, but just knowing how we're all very lazy, everybody likes to remove that last little step. The amount of support calls I used to take in my younger days about people forgetting to go into the networking area or click on their desktop to connect to the software VPN. So yeah, there's always a million ways to skin a cat. This is my favorite because it involves the cloud, and I'm very biased towards the cloud. So. I mean, I had a project recently where the client just said, look, we have a VPN at so many sites, like for every single branch office we've got a VPN. I think it was like about 40 sites or something. And they just wanted to go to the cloud just to get rid of all the VPNs. Because they were owned by different companies, that meant different hardware, that meant different configurations, that meant different compliance. I wasn't involved, but what they were telling me, it was a nightmare, and I can imagine. And by having a central focus point like this, I think we removed all their VPNs except for one, and the rest was all through SSL. So, was there any other questions about that? The burning drone will be here next month. I'll let you all have a play. And yeah, did anybody have a lightning talk? Anything that they wanted to brag about? The Australian merchandise wasn't good enough offering. Who's here we go. I have to give some away. So there we go. Just all your questions. You don't want it?
Yeah, I need it.
You need it. Yeah, you need it. You definitely need it.
Thank you for my Lunar New Year.
Okay. So I've got 2 more prizes.
I'll jump in.
You jump in?
Talk.
Okay.
I don't want that.
No. If you're gonna talk. And then I'll have a pop quiz question after Jeff, the last one.
Thanks, Matt. Matt and I actually met several months ago at an Azure meetup that I do. So I just wanted to share with you that we do a Vancouver Azure meetup if you're ever interested in Azure specifically. And then I'm currently working with Microsoft as a technical evangelist for Azure. So if you ever have any Azure questions, please let me know, and I'd be more than willing to help you with any maybe technical difficulties or choices as to why you might want to use Azure. I'm not a sales guy. I've been a coder for like 15, 16 years, so I'm not going to do a sales pitch ever, but we can talk about technologies and the benefits. That's all I really want to say, so just introduction. Thanks, man.
Okay, I've got the last question. So who can name one thing that has been announced in the last month around the cloud? You're all paying attention, right?
Workmail.
Workmail, there we go. You've had that drilled into you 2 months in a row, so for sure. Okay, so next month, date to be confirmed, venue to be confirmed, but guarantee you that we'll work out some more hands-on experiences around the cloud, more prizes, and yeah, think about some lightning talks. If you've got something that you want to jump up here and talk, it's best to tell me in advance, and we can get you in the spotlight. Everybody will come and talk to you. If you're sitting lonely at the start of these things, then jump up here and you can tell everybody in one word and everybody else will come to you. If you know anybody who might be interested in sponsoring this event so we can make it even more of a whiz bang. And then the video of tonight will be up online in the next month. So just check that space on Coffee Cloud. And let me know what you guys want to hear. I mean, we're here for you, so let us know what you guys want to know about the cloud. Had a lot of great conversations earlier about people just asking me about the cloud, and I was just like, oh, I can talk about that for hours. That we can have lots of speakers around those topics. So I have an awful memory, so that's one of you that were talking to me earlier that are like, yeah, Matt will remember, I won't remember. Send me an email, I'll add it to the list. There are so many topics on the cloud, we could go all night.
Hey, could I add something on? Could you add it on to your next event? Who gave you the best question about the cloud to get a prize?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm always open to giving people prizes. So if you, yes, exactly.
In the email, not by the class. Okay, some people like me. I don't like to speak too much.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, prizes, yes, always.
No,
More-
because the point is that we
The
have
more
to
feedback people give me, and the more sponsorship we get, the more prizes I can give. I love bribing people with prizes, so especially if they're Australian themed. So
because we come here to learn something.
yeah, that's it. Thanks. So thanks everybody.